time to start giving something back.
I'm getting in business with you, and if I mess up, someone's going to come round my gaff and shoot me, and I'll say, yeah, go on and give it.
During your final sentence, Andrew, Paige you really turned the corner. Obviously, you had been doing positive stuff prior to going away, but you really washed your hands of anything to do with crime-based, and you started the One Postcode. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what that was?
Yeah, well, rally in the One Postcode, how that really came about was earlier on, actually not even to my sentence, but into remand at Belmarsh. I saw constant, fights in a prison, and it was insane because every 2 minutes the bell was going and everyone was being locked down. I was a category prisoner. Had a friend who'd come up from Full Sutton. He was on cumulative visits, Mumbles, and he'd just come off double A cat, and he was working his way through dispersal. And we used to talk a lot, and we said it's madness. There's no logic behind it, and the thought came, if we could develop something or get something introduced that could reduce some of the violence, it would be a positive all the way around, because it's suffocation enough being locked up in that environment, but to be locked up 24 hours a day because of the constant fights, it made no sense. So I started to look and really watch it, and the logic behind it was mad, because I would see young guys whose parents I knew, whose grandparents I knew, who were at war with each other on the outside, and it was mindless and it was senseless, because a lot of these guys actually, their families were very, very close. One particular incident I remember, walking around the yard and speaking to a young guy I knew who was doing, I think it was 30-year rec for a murder, and on the other side of the yard was another guy who was up from dispersal who was doing, I think, a 36, and they were arch enemies, and I looked at them and said, you're as good as family. I know your grandparents and I know his family as well, and we actually all grew together. So they didn't even know this. They didn't know this. They were completely unaware of it. They let the postcode thing break that down till there was no interaction. As a kid growing up, we knew all our cousins. We looked out for each other. We had an extended family which spread right the way through London, Birmingham, Nottingham. It didn't matter. Once you were a child of colour, you understood you had to stick together. It was important. And it's just gone to us. There is no unity. There is no combined effort. And if you're a criminal, it makes no sense. How can you have an enemy on every corner? You can't do business that way. It doesn't work. So that was the sense of it, but the question was, how do you break it down? And I became a listener. A listener basically is part of the Samaritans group. They work in prisons, and they're in most prisons in England today, and listeners basically go and they will listen to a prisoner who's in distress. They can ring the bell, and then you're taken to a listener suite. You'll sit, they'll talk. It could be anything, self-harming, any kinds of issues. So I used to go to safety custody meetings monthly with the governor and like various other listeners and stuff like that, and they do the figures basically, which are the incidents in particular months, and they were crazy. So I said to the governor, this can be resolved. There's a way of doing this. She wasn't really listening to what I said, but I wore her down after, over a period of a few months, but I continuously bringing it up. The assaults were getting higher and higher. They were getting more serious. A few really serious life-threatening incidents happened. Guy got his throat cut, where the phone was, and loads of stabbings. It was getting out of control. So eventually she lent an ear. So she was like, how can it be done? I said, well, it can be done because these guys who are in here, they don't want to kill each other. Do you know what I mean? But they're doing it out of fear, because they think if they don't make the first move, it will come on them. I said, and it was worse because when they come through the door, they're thrown into the lion's den, and that's easily resolved because the first thing they're asked, are they a member of a gang? And every young person's going to say no, because they're on remand. They think when they go to court, they're going to get a bigger sentence because they just told an officer that, who's going to tell the judge that in notes when sentencing comes about. So they say no, they're thrown into the middle of the population, they've got their enemies surrounding them, and that's it. So if you'll allow us, let us try to, put together a mediation package, and let's pick some prisoners who are on the wing, guys who are doing big sentences, who are fresh in or have been in a few years and still relevant gang, or looked at as top relevant gang members, and let them come on board, and let's put them on each wing, and let's be able to spot these kids, bring them in and mediate the problem down. And the security governor was concerned about it. He thought it was a trick, was up to no good. But again, eventually, after sitting and trying to explain it could work, they finally agreed. And then I brought in David Frederick. David, we go back a long time. David had been continuing with this kind of work. And, he'd done all his MVQs in prison and stuff, in mentoring and stuff like that. And he came in. At that time, I got shipped out of prison. I was sent out to Whitemoor from Belmarsh. But successfully, the programme was put together, which was the one postcode, which was model of some other courses we'd actually written and just tailored, using some of the inmates, funny enough, in the prison as well, to bring home points that were really current to gangs. And it was introduced and it was incredible success. It worked tremendously well. We had a carrot and stick approach. The carrot approach was if they behaved, they signed a compact and they, abided by the rules. We try to, not that you could guarantee it, but hopefully give them a good placement to go somewhere if they were sentenced, avoiding dispersal preferably, and they could get extra gym sessions, things like that. We had a gym, local gym, well, not a local gym, but Peacock's gym, which wasn't too far, Canning Town. Guys there came in and they had people do motivation talks and circuit training, things like that, which was a great incentive because they'd been there, seen it, done it themselves. And that was great. And obviously, if the downside was if they did fuck up, they would probably get on a bus to Whitemoor or Franklin or some,
places don't want to go.
Place you really want to go, And that was pretty much it. This programme was a great success and I got the flavour for it then. And I thought to myself, looking at my life, I looked at my life and I thought, what has it really come to? Because here I am, and my whole life I wanted to be this guy. Well, I got there. I was that guy. And it meant nothing because all it meant was a trail of destruction and misery which I'd caused. And yeah, of course you made money, but looking in reflection, I've always had a good business head. I've always had successful businesses, big businesses, not little ones. Had I just stuck to those, I would have achieved it all. Regardless, I had a high probability of doing it, and without the aggravation of knowing every room you walk into could have bugs in it, every car you drive could have a tracker placed underneath it, any time, night or day, your door could come through with armed police, every time you go on a holiday with your family, you're being followed by the DEA. It's not a life. I looked at what I'd done. I'd left a trail of destruction and misery everywhere I'd gone, everything I'd done. And what was it done for? So you could buy big houses, so you could drive beautiful cars, so you could go on holidays. I could have done it legally, without causing one person the hardship, of probably getting involved in a gang, selling drugs because they want to be that guy and they want to drive that car, they want to live that lifestyle. Reality is they probably never would ever get near there. Yeah. They'd either get to prison first or get killed. And do I want to be responsible for those kids, those parents who have their kids and look at their kids and love their children, be that person that brings drugs into this country to destroy people's lives? I didn't want to do that anymore, and it's a reality check. And I thought, it's time to start giving something back, regardless of what the consequence is, let's do it.
Good.
And I looked at my situation and looked at the problems in the prisons and thought, these are all common sense solutions. If the gang one was so easy, let's look at the drug situation. And I was watching the news and they were saying that people are coming into prison without a drug habit and living with a drug habit. Yep. And I'm saying to myself, how can that be? And I looked at the system and thought, well, I've been doing this business for 30 odd years. These answers are simple. You're bringing in people who are addicts into a prison, you're locking them away from the general population for a period of time to get them on a detox, then you're releasing them into a population of drug dealers. Yep. So you're giving them customers. So where are the courses for people who have been convicted of trafficking drugs? So I went to my OMU, my officer basically that does your basis report and your sentence plan. I said to her, I want to do a course to deal with drug trafficking, to bring down my risks. She went through the file and said, there's nothing in the system that does it. Do victim awareness. I said, I don't need to do victim awareness, because I'm aware of the damage I've done, but I'll do it for the sake of it. But teach me what I can do to stop me selling drugs. And she's going, we'll do money management. I said, I don't need money management. I don't really know how to manage my money. That's why I was a drug dealer. You know, so I thought, if you haven't got that in the system, I'm going to do that for you. Hindsight,
yeah.
You know, because it's a situation knowing that not everyone's different. There are different layers of drug traffickers. There are people who have businesses, legitimate cargo, transport businesses, logistic people, you know, and they can't be classified as a drug dealer because their mindset is they're simply moving cargo from one place to the other or moving goods. Whatever commodity goes in them is just another, you know, another product. And the layers come down to the second layer of people who have got a lifestyle around them, people who've been involved in criminal enterprises for 40, 50 years. And what it's not about whether they're selling drugs or not, doing crime or not, it's the people they're associated with. The family unit they put themselves around, their wife and their families and the kids all have to know those same people, because you're living in a box. You can't let people in from the outside. And when you put yourself into that box, you can never get out of that unless you change your lifestyle and change your friends in your circle. And sad to say, where you spent so much time wanting to be that person or that guy, that's all you know. You haven't got another skill set but to go around doing crime. So how do you deal with that? I knew how to deal with that. And that was another module to write into it. Then you've got the guy who doesn't think he's a drug addict, but he is. And because he's got a job or maintains himself. But what he does is he wants to sell drugs on the side to take care of his own personal addiction without everyone knowing that he takes gear, and sells it, whether it be at the pub or for any other variation, friends around the house or whatever. And this guy's a drug dealer, but because he has a job as a car mechanic or a carpenter or whatever there is, you know, it doesn't take away from the fact, you know, this is a business that he does. And called the social dealer, which I felt responsible for, because during the late 80s, when we were doing warehouse parties, people started to sell drugs. As, you know, people who've never sold drugs before. They, you know, they'd buy 100 pills or buy 50 pills, you know, sell them to their friends and have 8 for themselves. And, you know, so that whole generation, I felt responsible for half being responsible for creating. And then you got young kids who I just look at as victims, who are involved in gangs, you know, and they're being groomed. They're brought into gangs to think they're going to get all these things. Never going to get them, never going to achieve them. All they're going to do is bring their situation, their circumstances down further and further and further. And all these people in this business, you had to look at each situation differently. And the easiest way of doing it was transferable skills. What has everybody got? Everyone's got a skill of some kind. So if that guy who does the logistics, who's got a lot of money perhaps, to put something back, he wants credibility, he wants standing in a community. That's why he does a legitimate business, does it on the side. So you bring them up and you bring them as business advisors, mentors for young people who want to start up a business. Show them how to do a legitimate business and feel proud that you can make that mark and give something back. You know, the career criminal, let him man up and step in front of a camera and say, it's all a lie, it's all bollocks. Do you know what I mean? You want to be that person, you want to live that life, these are the consequences to go with it. And when it comes down to it, it's all facade.
Indeed.
You know, and right the way down.
I was going to say, do you know, it's mad that you said that, right, about being that guy.
Yeah.
Because all my life, I was trying to be that guy.
Yeah, I know.
When I got there, that's what I thought, this is madness, mate, and I've got to do this forever. And then when I do the issue that popped up, so what happened with me, I was sending the graft home, I was giving it to the younger, obviously with the PGPs, you don't really meet people face to face, so this one kid just wasn't correct. I thought, I want to hurt him, so I said, I'll get this little cunt done, do whatever. And I found out it was my son's best mate. And that was the penny dropping moment I had with the damage that I was causing and the problems I was creating amongst the young individuals in my environment. I thought, wow, I'm actually responsible for X, Y, Z. It's me. And if I weren't doing X, Y, Z, then they wouldn't be doing X, Y, Z. So then that's what made my transition into where I was. Do you know what I'm saying? Into where I was going and doing what I'm doing now. Because what I don't understand now is why all the older lot prior to me ain't done what I've done, ain't done what Andrew's done, ain't got to position and then said to themselves, fuck, we can't do this, but they continue for decade after decade after decade, pretending with that mythological nonsense story that I love you, mate, you're one of us, mate, do you know what, take this, son, you're proper, mate, I tell you what, come and see my pal, he'll give you whatever you want, because you're special, you're proper, you're this, you're that, and then they'll give you 5 key, 10 key, 20 key, and then you work it up to 100 key, 150 key, and then 150 key of puff, and then 5 bits of sniff, and then 5 bits of sniff, 3 bits of brown, and then you have 200 pills, and you just expanding, creating more devastation, more problems, more dramas, and then when you get nicked and bang up, they just move on to the next guy. They don't want to send you no money. They want to make sure your missus has got 3-4 grand a month so she can feed and live and look after the kids. Everyone gets dropped out. Do you know what I mean? You might get a message every now and then, you might get a little bit of puff every now and then, you might get something every now and then throughout your 15 or 20 year sentence. Do you know what I mean? But getting a financial revenue stream which your family can support themselves on and survive without any problems, it doesn't happen. But they don't tell you that. They don't tell you that.
And that's why it's so important that you guys, with the names that you've got, are telling the people that, because there's so many negative.
The point I was just making is I don't understand, how all the olders prior to us
I understand.
ain't doing what we are doing.
Yeah, I understand.
Right now, Andrew was a much higher level criminal than I was. I was more of a road criminal and a grafting criminal. I made it up to Andrew's level, and when I got to Andrew's level, that's when I decided to know, I can't do this. Do you know what I mean? Because you're sending bits home, people getting shot, stabbed, killed, and you're responsible. It's you that's made that happen. Do you know what I mean? It's you that said, listen, I want my money, bro. Go and see that little cunt and get my money. Yeah, I don't give a fuck, I want that. That's got to be paid for. That money's got to be paid, that transport's got to be paid, this got to be paid. Everything needs to be paid for. I can't pay for it because the product's paying for it. So, although I'm vigilant in what I'm doing it all for the wrong reasons, all for the wrong process, all for the wrong outcomes, all for the wrong results. So, that's why I can't do it no more, because I'm the dog that's ruining people's lives. I'm the dog that's putting people in prison. I'm the dog that's getting people killed, because I'm not the man to say, oh, I can't do this no more. Too many people getting damaged. So now we've become the man to say we're not doing it no more. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not right. I don't understand why all the olders prior to me haven't done it. Right? And the reason why they haven't done it, I believe now, is because they like grooming their youngsters so they can sit at the pile of shit, the top of the pile of shit, and continue with the facade of the mythological lifestyle.
Do you know what Marvin just said there, right? Every word of it is just so on point. And you live in a business, all right? And this is the nature of this business, okay? In a normal business environment, people trust people. Okay, and that's what respectable business is, trust. In Hatton Garden, acidic Jew people, thumbers, do millions of pounds worth of diamond business every single day on a handshake. Okay, and that tradition has been going on from the beginning of Hatton Garden. As an example, trust. Criminals give other criminals millions upon millions of pounds worth of drugs on the same principle on a handshake, but it's not trust; it's fear. Replacement of fear, where trust should go. There was a pattern I had at one stage when I was really heavily involved in drug trafficking, and we've tried to, bring in someone new into the organisation and trust them with a lot of money. I'd have maybe one meeting with them and say one thing: before you take this, understand, it'll cost me £5,000 to have a young guy on a moped stab or shoot you to death. It'll cost me £10,000 to have someone that knows what they're doing walk up to you when you're sitting in your car, put a bullet through your head. It'll cost me £20,000 to have someone take you away and dispose of you and your body. So before you take the parcel, know that. Now, what human being on the face of this earth could honestly use that as a business agreement and enforce it and believe it? Do you understand? Now, that was a business agreement. They were the terms and conditions of my contracts.
Mad to
When
say.
you live in a world like that,
Destined for failure.
Oh, it's just madness. It's madness. I'm getting in business with you, and if I mess up, someone's going to come round my gaff and shoot me. And I'll say, yeah, go on and kiss it.
Please.
Please. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'll see you next week.
What a business. What a business.
Do you know what I mean? It's madness.
How can you enter a business like that on terms and conditions like that? Do you think you could go around and walk into a job, any person, from a mechanic to a city broker to a television repairman, and your employer gives you terms and conditions like that? Why would you choose this career? Why?
It's madness and insanity.
It is.
Because no sane person would ever choose that.
No. They'd be like, what did you just say to me? People would look at, fuck, I'm back there.
Yeah, if anything goes wrong, this is what's going to...
Get that.
And I can risk going to jail at the same time and all these other things, more so than that.
Man, that's why I don't understand it. And although I made my transition, yeah, and I was happy with my transition, I'm happy doing what I'm doing, I'll actually, because I knew what Andrew was doing within the prison system, and I heard about where he was going with his work, I was really, really surprised when he contacted or reached out when he got out, yeah. And like I said earlier, mate, but I wanted to ask on camera, like because so you can understand, right? I was that criminal that everyone said, fuck that, he's too swerving, right? I was that guy, and I know I was that guy forever, right? So I know years ago, I would have been that guy to Andrew. I wouldn't have been around them guys because I was too up to warm, too bait. They would be like, oh fuck, he's a lunatic, don't have him, no, let's swerve, let's go this way, let's go. If he's down there, we'll be there at 12. You know, there was always something, right? And then now it's like Marv. So I needed to ask.
Let me tell you why. Because you've never asked me this question, and I'm going to tell you the answer. Because when I came out of prison, okay, and I decided 100% thoroughly this is what I was going to do, and I was going to seriously get involved in the rehabilitation sector, the third sector charity work, and change lives. I wanted to know who else was doing this and what their intentions were, their intent. It's very important because a lot of people say they're doing it and they're not doing it. They're doing it for the image, the facade of it, right? And one of my colleagues had said to me, oh, I just had a meeting with Marvin and he knows you. I said, okay, Marvin's this. He said, Marvin, you were known from Camden. Of course, don't know Marvin, but I do know of Marvin because Marvin used to be around, you know, guys I knew and stuff up and down the road, and I would never have to come in contact with Marvin. There would be no reason for that ever happening. You know, it was a loose cannon. They're going to put yourself around a loose cannon. They're bringing the heat to you. You're dealing with hundreds of millions of pounds worth of drugs with police all over you. You've got someone who's going to bring fire on you. And I thought to myself, there's no way this guy has turned to rehabilitation. So, more so out of curiosity than anything else, I thought, let me reach out here and really see what time it is. Because remember, I'm hearing stories from some people that I know who was in prison, who was up and down with him in prison, people who's on the road with him, doing madness up and down on the road. So I know his full remit, okay, or a good part of his remit, and it is not rehabilitation in my eyes. So I spoke to him, and to be honest, Chuck, within half an hour of that conversation, I said to myself, this guy's changed. And if he can change, anyone can change. Okay? And that inspired me.
I'm glad you said.
That inspired me. Right? That inspired me. And I thought, he's actually changed. Right? So at that point, I knew to myself,
this is as hardened criminal as they came in the previous.
As hard as criminal you're going to get.
Whose
right?
product was illicit product. He was a criminal.
That's
every single
what it was.
Job within the
and do you know what? Carlton's given me the green light to say we had the rab. So even Carlton and them, so he's coming on the podcast where I want to do him. Do you know what I mean? So it's
this journey,
the levels we played
this
with,
journey,
and where I wasn't. I never believed I would be legit. I never believed I would be legit. Now to add on what Andrew said then, man. When I heard Andrew trying to contact me, I was like, what? Who? What the fuck? What's he want to go with me for? I said, nah, he ain't ever going to change. The same mindset he had about me, I had about him there. And I was like, I can't have it with these people. And then I thought, you know what, it'll be rude if I don't speak to him, let me just speak to him. So when I spoke to him, we had a conversation for, it was about an hour and a half, the conversation, wasn't it? Really long. And then we met up, and then he invited me to his mum's funeral, and it was at his mum's funeral that the penny dropped for me, that I realised, that he changed, you know, because, and I've asked you the question before prior, right, because I had to ask him because I had to know, right, so basically, going to the levels he went to, something had to happen to make him change. I had to get shot 5 times for me to change. I had to get shot 5 times for me to change, otherwise I would never have changed. So reflecting on my life after I got shot is what made me change, right, so something's made him change. So I said to him one day, like, because his mum and his dad was pretty ill. Well, his mum was really ill, his dad was getting ill. So I said to him, do you want to leave a good legacy for your mum and dad? Like, is this what? And he was like, do you know what it is? I've never done nothing for my mum and dad, and all I've done is cause them embarrassment. They're high-standing people in society in Jamaica. My dad was a worker here. There was work, and all I've done was spat in their face. And I just want to give them back something. And that was the day that I knew I could trust Andrew not to jeopardise my freedom or my liberty with any underlining madnesses of ego, you know. And I knew from that day that he weren't committing crime ever again, and that's why we got the AP Foundation and the Marvin Herbert.
Right. You know.
And so it's sort of fitting that after all the sort of negativity that you two might have done, that you're trying to repair, and on top of that, the fact is there'll be a lot of people. When people haven't been involved in crime, try and put out the message about change and stuff like this, a lot of people think, how can you give it this? It's impossible. But you two went to the pinnacle of the crime world, which is the depths of society, and so no one can come with the excuse, I'm too far, I'm too deep, or anything like this.
No, you can't.
You can't get deeper than you two were, and you managed to turn it all around. And so, talk to me, at the point where you reached out to Marvin, had you created the Andrew Pritchard Foundation at that point there?
I'd formed it as a CIC at that point, and my mindset was on this one, right? I'd spent most of my life from about the age of 17 doing things that young people would cut their arm off to do, all right? I was involved in the music industry, you know, I was highly successful in that, putting on concerts and events, mixing with celebrities, you know, I had all kinds of business interests in all kinds of stuff, from films right the way through. And I thought, this is an industry that there are so many young people would love to be involved in, but they can't get the break or the access. I've got all that. I've got every contact in the world. I've got access to all of this. And this, for me now, not to share this wealth of knowledge and teach young people how to become entrepreneurs and how to run successful businesses, I would be doing myself and everyone an injustice. But it's one thing doing that. I'm an old guy now, you know. Why will young people now who've missed a generation, at least one generation, want to hear what I've got to say? But they want to hear what Marvin's got to say, because he's connected to the street. He's in touch. He's that person that's there. Okay?
But you know what?
With that knowledge, it works.
Yeah, no, you add to that though. So I'll give you an example. I spoke to a couple of people from Hackney Fields. I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing some bits with Andy Pritchard. I was like, Andrew Pritchard, I know that name. I know that. So, although I'm growing, I'm doing what I'm doing, yeah, what Andrew doesn't realise that he's doing, right, he's putting himself on this platform as one of the major bosses in the drug world, who everybody, without them knowing it, indirectly would have relied on him or listened to him or benefited from him in one way or another throughout the 80s and the 90s, without a shadow of a doubt. Anyone from East London, North London or West London, I can guarantee that. So he's adding value to Marvin Herbert, because I'm saying it's not just about me.
No.
There's people above me in this game. There's people above me that was earning millions, bruv. Look, Andrew. And they're like, shut up. I said, yeah. These lot work with the biggest figures in, like, all the major drug deals, the dealers that got arrested from, I'd say, 97 to, or even before that, 93 to, I'd say 2002, you would have had some contact or interaction with Andrew and their network. Do you know what I'm saying?
Part of his ripples.
Yeah, it would have been part of the ripple somewhere. It doesn't matter. Like, I know, guaranteed throughout the 90s, without a shadow of a doubt, and guaranteed throughout the 80s, without a shadow of a doubt. And that was the whole of England, not just London or little bits. I'm just talking, they would have been connected along the whole of England through that network. Do you know what I'm saying? So he's adding value to me because I'm letting people know it ain't just about me. It's about the people, my bosses, my governors that I used to work with. They want to give it up because I've got someone here who worked with them all, and he's telling me the same thing.
And like Andrew said, you might be slightly better at speaking to the children on the streets and stuff, but in terms of the industries
connection
that you open up and stuff like this,
the
like you spoke about the music industry, the entertainment industry, and this is something that the children and the youth love.
I'm the engagement, easy exit, and that's how simple it is.
Which
it's,
perfect,
and that's what everyone plays their part. I'm not made to be a boss. I'm made to be a sociable, interactive, bubbly guy that draws attention. That's my place. So I bring attention, market and market and promote. Do you know what I mean? So I've got the words. I'm like a prophet, if that makes sense, for this game. So I'm out here spreading the word. I'm out here letting everybody know this is what you can do. And now this is what we've got in place. So through the AP Foundation, the Marvin Herbert, we've got programs and we've got courses and we've got training and we've got employment.
So the two intertwined then, just the views.
Yeah. We're proper merged. It's not.
Perfect.
It's the same principle as if we was criminals, right? And we're using each other's network. That's it. Like we're pals. We go back and we're partners in business. So now, what I've got, everyone else has got. And what I've got and Andrew's got, everyone else has got. And what I've got, Andrew's got. So we're working together to achieve a common goal.
Yeah.
Do you understand? And that's the long and short of it. There's no in betweens.
You see, the process to rehabilitation as well, people have got in their mind it's about one thing. It's not. It's about full support right across the border. And one of the concepts we came up with was the 5-step pathway. So the 5-step pathway basically had come up with that because it was a question of being able to go from A to Z in one capture. And the first thing to get, you got to get people before they've got into this or on the fringes of getting involved in it. So intervention, getting out there, getting into the communities and being able to get to those kids on the estates, the ones that are vulnerable, the ones you can see are going to get wrapped up in this stuff. And please God, next year we'll be getting a fleet of buses which will be going and doing that, going onto estates, going into schools and being able to offer, mentoring and offer skills for young people to learn about film, about music, alternative pathways. Rehabilitation. If it's too late and they're already in prison, we've got to get to them when they're in there because you have to be able to change. And the best way to change is when you're in a situation, you can think about what you've done. So the rehabilitation courses we do, a whole assessment, we've got 4 new courses right now. We've got an over 40s plan, which is for the whole generation of prisoners, career criminals, people who don't know how to change. We've got a course called Womanhood, which is for young girls that are wrapped up and getting involved into gangs. We've got a man plan, which looks at young people and their poor role models that they've got, basically, and what takes them onto that path and the consequences of what they go. So we write courses, and those courses are for people who have got themselves in trouble but need to be bringing them back from there. And then it's great doing all this stuff, but you've got to be practical, and people need to be able to get skills. So if you can give them skills, they've already got some of the basic ground skills, making those skills transferable, using them for the positive things and showing them how to create business, how to get employment skills if they're going to be employed by a company or set up their own business as an entrepreneur. And then exit into employment so they can actually make those businesses work. And then from there, the path has to be, you've got to be safe, you've got to be housed properly, you've got to know there's a roof over your head. If it's got to be out of the area or away from the people, the circle you're in, you're given that. So the 5 steps from intervention, rehabilitation, skills and education, employment, resettlement, housing, gives you a complete package. So it means no matter what happens, we got a safety net under you. So if you drop from anywhere, we're going to catch you.
And this is in place today?
Which is in place today.
And where can people reach out to find out
Well,
this?
an AP Foundation website, the Marvin Herbert website is linked to it, as I said. And we're always there. We are the net.
So I think obviously this works absolutely fantastic, but I have fears that during this COVID times that it might create a whole generation of people that wouldn't be drawn to a life of crime that it might do. Sort of war times, there's normal people.
See, I don't think that. I think this is going to get more people away from crime than into it, because now they've got time to reflect. Now they've got time to think. Now they've got time to analyse. Now they've got time to make the right choices. They're not under pressure by being in the gang. They're not hanging around the flats. They're not being around everyone. So now they can go off on their own little journeys, innit? You know, like, they can't be groomed upon now. Do you know what I'm saying? They can just focus on what they need to do. They're in COVID. Every excuse under the sun you've got. Everyone can use, I've got COVID, I've got to stay indoors. I know I've got to go and see probation. Or like, go and just educate yourself differently, innit?
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
Engage with our people. Get onto our platforms. Get onto our email, what they call websites, and engage with us. Like everyone, I get all these messages every day, right? How do I change? I said, well, look, the easiest way to do it, what I done was this, yeah? I just stopped talking about criminal activities. I stopped hanging around with people committing criminal activities, and I never got involved with anything that was criminal. And all I've done was look for legal products, what I could get to market, what I could sell in the market, or which I could grow in the market. Or find people that could do the same. And that's all I've done. I'm a people person, so I used to find people to do bits of work. I used to find graft for people to go and do. I used to find graft for people to take. I was the facilitator in that world, right? So now I'm doing the same thing in the legitimate world, but with just legal products and with broken people.
Which is, it's really good to highlight that, because with drive and passion in something, that's all you need to be successful. Just choose the right product, which is what you guys are now doing.
The greatest thing is people have to overcome is fear. Okay, people have in their mind this thing of failure, okay, and they don't want to fail, so they don't do something because they're frightened of failure. But the reality is, sometimes you never fail. If you run at a business, it doesn't succeed. You've just learnt something from it for your next run forward. When I put the AP Foundation together and it had to go forward for charity status, you know, that was an easy task, because you have to put people in place who are trusted, people who the Charity Commission will know these people are people who are upstanding and proper. And I knew to myself to ask people this, to go on a trustee, go on an advisory board for a charity which I've effectively, you know, risen from prison. Who's going to do that? And you know what? I was amazed. The people who stepped forward to create our board of trustees, the people who sat on our advisory board, we're talking about vice presidents of record companies, you know, owners of massive film distribution companies, you know, journalists, we've got barristers, you know, it's an assortment of people who have put their credibility on the line, people with OBEs, you know. The most funniest thing I was told a few weeks ago, and that was that one of our ambassadors wanted to put me forward for an MBE.
Fantastic.
Okay, now I'm fresh out of prison. Okay, and if someone had mentioned anything like that before, I'd just think, you are completely off of your rocker. Are you insane? What the hell on earth would ever, in their right mind, want to even think about suggesting that for someone? But do you know what? I think about it now. I think to myself, people have given their time or given a good account for themselves to help the public and to help other people and better other people, opposed to always bettering themselves. They get these things, and that's the reward. So the reward before was always been, I want to get hungry, I want to get money, I want to get this, I want to get that, I want to have this flash watch, I want to have this. People who are actually looking to do things humbly get things like that. And it says what they do. It says this person has sacrificed. That person's made a sacrifice. Because the guy that drives around with a car with a watch with this, that, the other, all he does is feed himself. And that's what young people need to realise. You know, if you see someone, you know, and you're making a role model of a guy because of what car he's driving or because of what watch he's wearing or how much drug you say he's pushing, think again, change your role models, because they're really bad examples, and that can only end one way.
Absolutely. And like I said, everything that you've done in the past, you've been super successful with, just obviously with the wrong products and in sort of a negative light. So I'm really looking forward to, over the next few years, looking at you on the positive
Looking
part.
from this perspective, right? I'll give up that world 5 years ago, right? 1 year ago, I got invited to Downing Street. Right, now that's Marvin Herbert, yeah, that lunatic loose cannon, right, with no business sense, no business acumen, no sort of business idea or intention, right. I turned my life around, and within 3.5 years of me turning my life around, I made it to Downing Street. So when he's just mentioned MBE, yeah, he's only been out a couple of years now. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's coming. I got to Downing Street. When I got the invite, yeah, I got the phone call. I said, "Oh, Bob, you better get your lad rags on. You're going Downing Street." I was like, "Yeah, all right, mate." Put the phone down. He's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, piss off, you dickhead. Do you think I'm stupid? I don't fall for them wind up. I'm busy. I've got to do something." He said, "No, Mum. I said, "What?" He said, I'm not joking. He said, "You're coming to Downing Street." I was like, "How? They won't let me in Downing Street." He said, "Marv, I promise you, you're cleared. You're coming in." No, I said to him, "You need to get your mate to do some checks and get me cleared." He said, "You're already cleared. I've got your pass. You're in." I said, "Shut up. I'm gonna send you the video to post, right?" I went down there, and all the cricket players, all the people going to get their I don't know what they get off the Prime Minister, but they're going to get their whatever, and they're in a mad queue. I'm standing in the back of the queue, so standing behind, what was his name? He done the chat show. The Big Lump. Big Nasty, yeah. So I got to see Big Nasty. What's how the big? He's like, yeah, what are you doing down there? I was like, "Well, I'm going to do." He was like, "Shut up." I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I'm telling you." He was like, "No." So I was standing behind him waiting, and all of a sudden the guys come out and the mate said, "Marvin, what are you doing?" I was like, "What do you mean?" "I'm queuing up." He said, No, you don't queue. Come through." And I was like, "What?" He said, "Come through, just walk straight round." So I got fast track round all the celebrities, all the lords, wherever they were going in there. And they just walked me through. I said, "It'd be a fast track into National." So I was seeing the other side and walked in. But that was that is, apart from my kids, the only proud moment of my life. Do you know what I mean? And that makes me emotional thinking about that. But making it to Downing Street. So when he mentioned getting an MBE, I'm getting an MBE. I'm going to get knighted. I'm going to be like, I know it, because where I'm going and what I'm doing, we'll get that because of the transition and change we're going to make to so many people's lives. And I don't believe for a second that Andrew and I will not get knighted in the near future.
Well, I don't know about getting knighted.
You'd be surprised, man.
But looking at your guys' life story, nothing was by half measures. You guys get to the top, and so now you just in this field, you're going to get top. Marvins obviously a couple of years ahead.
I'm going back in the palace, mate.
You guys get to the top.
What I look at,
MBE, but
when he was talking about Pet, it was making me laugh because just before I went to prison, I used to obviously had Reform Productions as a record label and managed artists. One of my artists was invited to play at the Palace Garden Party, and she had to put down a request for my manager, on who you're going to bring with you. And I'll never forget, I thought, doesn't sound good, so I sent her, give her the information, and of course came back straight away rejected. Threat. And I remember I was once named also on the DEA and Interpol list, which they publish, which is a threat to global security, right? Means I couldn't even travel to America and places like this, and there are countries in the world I could have travelled to and potentially be taken out by a drone, legitimately. And I thought to myself, that's a journey. That is a journey.
It's a crazy journey, isn't it?
To come back round full circle, in a situation whereas, and don't get me wrong, we're a situation I'm in, I'm subject to serious crime prevention order, I'm subject to licence, all these kind of things. And all these kind of things every day do pose challenges. They have to pose challenges because of what I do. But the honesty and sincerity of it all, where it's coming from and what it's doing, it's actually looking at those cracks in the system and trying to fill those gaps, because I believe we look at it and we see it from a different perspective. Okay, people who are in employment in those jobs, they do the best they can do, and that's what they do. But they're on the other side of that table.
Yeah.
We're on this side of that table, so we can look around and see what those problems are, and by being able to fix those problems, it makes their job easier on that side of the table.
Every time I've gone into a prison to do a talk, right, I've had some of the hardest villains come up. "Marv, will you help me sort it out when I get out? I don't want to do this no more, bruv. I'm so glad you've done it. How did you do it?" Like, people were amazed that I'm legitimate. Like, how do you do it?
We know for people who never had a hope of becoming legitimate, when they saw you become it, they thought, if he can do it, anyone can do it.
Look, I'm gonna mention something now, because a few years ago, one of my mates went legit, right? Blah blah, went legit, and I never believed. Like, when he went, I'm going straight. I was like, yeah, he'll be back in a couple of years, mate, when he's struggling for a few quid. Do you know what I mean? He ain't gonna stay straight. I know him. I've brought up with him. I've known him for 25, 30 years. There's no way in a million years he's giving up the road. Never. And then the more and more and more the years went on, I'm looking at him thinking, what the fuck, Hannah? And then he's got a house, he's got a nice car, he's always travelling, I thought, hold on, he can actually... So that was what gave me my incentive to make a transition. If he could do it, I could do it. So you need that element, yeah, 100%. To actually focus on, and that's why I believe that we are going to make a massive difference, 100%. Because I'm speaking to people now that are hard criminals. I'll show you all my messages, mate. I want to come off the road, but I just don't know how. So once I'm in a position next year and the year after to actually welcome people in, house them, support them, educate them, and then employ them, then it's a win-win-win-win. There's no one who's going to come in contact with us that's not going to be working at the end of 18 months period. There's no one who's not going to be turning over a substantial amount of money within 2 to 3 years. It's not possible, because what I've learned now is the business strategies, yeah, either work or they don't work. And if they don't work, you don't lose no money, you don't waste no money. Do you know what I mean? It's just an idea you put together, you put it to your team formulate a business plan, you pay the business plan off for funding. If you don't get funding, you go on to the next one. Eventually, within 6 months, you're going to get something that bites. And you're going to get something you can get stuck into, and you're going to work. And if you're not at that level, then you can get trained in any sport, yeah, any like football, boxing, MMA, combat sports, yeah, anything to do with music, anything to do with household maintenance, roofing, scaffolding, and the music industry, the video industry, the media industry. Like, we have training and employment in all of what I've just mentioned. How can we not engage with bad people to turn their lives around? We're giving them what they need. Everybody wants money. Everybody wants to survive. Right? So what I'm showing people now is, look, with the right qualifications and the right work ethic, you can get 3-4 grand a month in a decent job. And if you're in a really, really good position, you've got your own company, you get 5 to 20 grand a month. Yep. But you've got to work hard for at least 18 months. So if you went into prison now and you said to anybody in prison, right, when you get out, you need to come with me for 18 months and I'm going to put you on the biggest bit of work of your life. They'd all listen to that geezer for 18 months when they get out. They would listen to him. Right? So all I'm saying to people is listen to me. Yeah, 18 months of your life, I will guarantee you will not go back to prison, yeah, and you will not break the law, and you'll be happy with the money you're earning. I can guarantee that, because the average criminal on the street does not earn more than 3 grand a month. Don't happen. They come into contact with money, but they rob money, they steal money, they like just you ain't got 3 grand profit on the road. That's the business. There's not 3 grand profit on the road every month. It ain't there. Right? Everyone's juggling, grafting, lying, cheating and scamming. That's what everyone's doing on the road. So once you've got something consistent, that's real, that's tangible, that is sustained, it's a win-win-win-win. Do you know what I mean? Now, if I went to any criminal and said, listen, I've got 2 grand a month for you, and all you got to do is something you love, who do you think's going to tell me to fuck off? I'll pay you 2-3 grand. I'll pay you up to 5 grand a month for something you love if you're that good at it. And then you show them how to develop the business infrastructure, and then crack on. It's not difficult. I wasted 40 years of my life trying to crack it with that world. And I've tried everything you could possibly try. I've tried every criminal activity that can generate financial revenue streams, right? I've done it all. And none of it has given me the finances I needed every single month so I could be who I wanted to be. But yet, I've had less money than I've ever had in my whole entire life, and I've lived better than I've ever lived with less money. I've lived in I live in a lovely house. You've been to my house? Is my house nice?
Yeah, beautiful.
Beautiful. My car nice?
Beautiful.
Right, my kids nice?
Beautiful.
Right, their house is nice.
Stress free as well now.
No headache. And all I've been doing is working hard every day. Right? And now we're just about to flick the switch and start working even harder. We're going to start making more money. And it's that simple.
It's fantastic. And like I said, there's too many people out there saying, oh, just drop the crime, get on but without putting the steps in place that you guys, because you know it doesn't work unless these steps are in place. These guys have got the steps in place. Reach out to them. There's no excuse.
There's no
and
excuse.
they can help every step of the way.
Every step.
Advice, training,
everything.
Do you know what?
Housing. Everything, man. Everything.
There is one thing though, right, and this is something one day I hope that a government would put their mind to. It's great telling young people not to do this. You've got to give them the support. But there are guys in prison, spending the rest of their lives in prison, who have gone out there, have lived that life to the max, and now are doing those sentences, the 36, 35s. Within 5-6 years, many of those cases, those people realise what they've done. When there's no visits, there's no money coming in, the hard reality is home, and people around them are getting older and ill. And I look at some of those guys, and the logic that they now apply and look back at their lives, the mistakes they've made, they're the ones that need to be accessed, and they're the ones that need to be able to tell these kids on the street, look, you know who I am, you know me, right? And the legends going on that I'm having it great, legends going on that this is how it is, because this one's called himself this as a young'un, that one's called himself that as a young'un. And give those guys an incentive. Have an incentive for people to say, right, you focus your mind on helping write rehabilitation programs. Focus your mind on giving us that message out there, and give sentence reductions. Allow them to benefit. Allow them to give 24/7 rather than sitting in a cell, pushing weights, doing all kinds of other stuff. Let these guys actually play a part in rehabilitation. Because this will be the key. Because coming from the horse's mouth is what makes the difference, you know. And that's something that I look at, and it pains me, you know, when I see friends who I know are in prison, serving 36, 30 years, serving natural life sentences.
Yeah.
You know.
You mentioned earlier a rec, right? So because we might have viewers that might not understand what a rec is. A rec is 35 years recommended. So minimum. That means you've got to serve 35 years
before the first parole.
Before you're even eligible for your first parole hearing. So when you get a rec, that's like you've got to serve
every day,
and then get sort of looked at for parole.
First parole
so
hearing.
when you hear the term rec, that means like I've got someone who's doing 2 45-year sentences recommended. And another kid who's doing a 36-year recommended. And another one who's doing a 72-year recommended.
So they should call them the minimum, because that's the minimum time they can do, isn't it? It's not
that's the minimum time they can do.
Yeah, but it's, as he said, it's the first call for parole, because sentences traditionally are halved, you know, and you'll be released on half of that. When you get hit with a wreck, you murder someone, you're going to get a wreck, wherever it is, where it starts at 16 and goes all the way to natural life. You know you're serving every day of that sentence.
Every day, mate.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's been fantastic. Everything we've covered on this, and so is there anything else you want to say that we haven't mentioned on the Andrew Pritchard Foundation or the Marvin Herbert? That...
Well, look, it does what it says on the tin. You know, at the end of the day, if we can change, anyone can change, and that's the reality of it. And it's not a spill, it's not a speech, it's not a road talk. It's not saying you're jazzing up or gassing up. This is actually real. But what's terrible is what it took to get us there. You know, what it had to take to get this mindset. You know, had I instilled myself in this 30 years ago, I think...
If you had just listened to your mum and dad...
At 24 years old, what a life that would have been from that point onwards. You know?
I know now with hindsight, right, if he weren't a criminal, he'd be a billionaire. Do you understand? Because the business mind he's got in business is what kept him out of all the... Because don't get it twisted, he's done a long time in jail, right? But if he wasn't as intellectual as he was, he would have done a hell of a long mate. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's everything in life, is about our mindsets. Everything we do is about our mindsets. So now we've got the right mindset to achieve the right goal and to engage with as many people as we can to adopt our mindsets now, and we're living proof that it's possible. I'm not going to pull your chain, but if you want to go and waste 18 more months of your life being a criminal, good luck. But I could advise you or I will advise you to waste 18 months of your life
Learn
coming
something.
with me.
Yeah,
And
learn
I've got
something.
a couple of people, young Gotten. You've interviewed young Gotten, right? He's Ambush's manager and tour manager and things like that. I've done the same thing with him. He's never looked back since then. He's never looked back. Do you know what I mean? Young, what was his name? Oh. How can I do that? My brain's gone dead. There's a few of them.
But like Marvin said, guys, heed the words these guys are saying, listen to them, and save yourself the drama and the bother and the destruction, and get on the positive path. Hopefully, if you're not already.
But there's one saying my mum had, because mum was a woman of many great sayings, and one of them was, if you can't hear, you must feel.
I heard that one many a times, mate. Many a times.
So,
Stuart Mendes, that was it. Stuart Mendes went to university, got his qualifications. Yeah, Stuart Mendes.
So guys, let's remind people where they can reach out to you. Like you said, you've got the Andrew Pritchard Foundation website, but what about
AP Foundation.
AP Foundation website, and then remind people about social medias. You've got any Facebook?
Yeah,
Twitter,
so
Insta?
it's all AP Foundation, Facebook, Twitter, Insta, APF TV, also affiliate company, you know, or the website, hit the website up, apfoundation.co.uk.
Guys, look at all of them and stay tuned for lots that's going to be coming and all. And Marvin, where can people reach out to you?
Well, they're all my local descriptions in the box below.
Go down in the description, you'll see all the links below. And so guys, this has been Nothing But The Truth with Andrew Pritchard. Andrew, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And
My brother.
Thank you.
guys, please like, share and subscribe, and leave any questions for both these guys in the comment section, and then we'll post that in due course. Thank you very much, that's been epic. So thank you very much,
Right.
Andrew.
Cool.
So 8 hours.
Fuck, that's a long one, isn't it?
5 hours, over
Jeez.
5.